Hello, I'm Daniel Frankel, regular contributor to Fierce Network and CEO and co-founder of NextTMT. I'm very pleased today to welcome Mark Bieberich, who's the Vice President of Portfolio Marketing for Ciena, a connectivity company. That's needed in an era where data centers are popping up all over the place and massive computational horsepower is being established to underwrite a very data-rich AI future. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
So maybe before we launch into it, you can tell me a little bit about Ciena. You're globally situated, but Hanover, Maryland based. Where are you based, and what do you do for them? What does the company do?
I'm based near our corporate headquarters in Hanover, Maryland. My role is really to help our salespeople and our marketing teams position our portfolio of products and services through a wide variety of messaging and collateral content that we use to engage with our customers and many other stakeholders, both internal and external.
So you're situated against a growing ecosystem of cloud and AI technology companies, which are driving demand for optical networking. Busy time, obviously. Maybe you can talk about that paradigm.
Obviously, over the last few years, we've seen massive demand for AI applications, and that has fueled a build out of optical networks. I would say first and foremost among the top hyperscalers in the world. That's Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Google, Oracle. But now what we're seeing is the emergence of many other companies that we call neoscalers. But these are companies that are building out AI infrastructure services like GPU as a service. We also see a growing number of large language model developers that are also in need of optical infrastructure or high capacity optical services. And there are also companies, for example, that are colocation providers, data center operators that really provide the real estate that where all of this can happen. And we are also seeing tremendous demand from those type of companies as well. So whether the company is a hyperscaler or neoscaler, globally, we see a rapid expansion of the number of data centers that are being built to host AI applications, deliver AI applications, train AI models, and provide them to end users at inference sites. And we're seeing this expansion fueled by tremendous investment from public equity, from private investors, from a variety of public investment sources as well. So that investment is giving rise to this rapid expansion of optical infrastructure that underpins all of the connectivity that's required to deliver these applications as that demand grows.
So you have a growing number of constituents who are trying to establish data centers and serve a growing customer base. What are the challenges that they face as they build out these networks and try to establish this connectivity?
The first real challenge that we see, and that's really at the heart of our business at Ciena, is just the need for scale. I mean, there's just a massive amount of scalability required to deliver AI applications when and where they're needed. We see not just that demand for applications growing today, but we see optical builds that are coming together that are in anticipation also of future demand. And there's really no sign of any slowing down, in that future demand. So the first main challenge that we see is just the scalability that's required to build these networks. I also think that for many of, for example, of our neoscaler customers, they don't have as much experience in the way of building optical networks as some of the companies that have been around a much longer time have. They don't have deep staff and expertise required to build, design, operationalize, and maintain these networks. So one of the challenges we see is just having the know-how to go and build the networks that are supporting their plans and that are really kind of the foundation of their business. So we're in a position, of course, to lend our expertise after many years of supplying the build out of hyperscaler networks to this growing ecosystem. I think also there are particular performance requirements in these networks that remain a challenge for many of the operators. I think as companies build out, for example, more and more inference sites, as we see the optical infrastructure need to cover a more distributed footprint, we see, for example, the need for low latency connectivity to inference sites. We see the need for increasing security, for example, across submarine links and across many of the connections to training facilities. And we see increasing demand for more deterministic behavior, to inference sites. So, you might think of something as readily apparent, especially on the West Coast now, as driverless cars. There's a tremendous amount of data that goes into, the operation of driverless cars, and a lot of AI technology is now being used to, drive efficiency in those fleets. There's really no tolerance for things like packet loss or for higher degrees of latency. So, we think that just the overall performance of these AI-driven networks remains a challenge for quite a few of these companies. So whether it's scale or whether it's kind of the know-how or whether it's just boosting performance and security on these networks, the challenges are quite significant. We're really in kind of think the early phases of this expansion of the data center ecosystem. And whenever you're in kind of those early stages, a lot of know-how, a lot of new innovation is coming to the marketplace. And at Ciena, I think we're driving much of that innovation.
Right. You have to meet the demands of today, which is pretty challenging, but a lot of innovation is required to meet future demand. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. What should we expect to see?
Yeah, so if you just think about the optical networks that are underpinning a lot of this expansion, I think first, we see innovation in the performance optics that maximize the overall capacity per wavelength, on these networks. So by performance optics, I mean, for example, our WaveLogic 6 Extreme technology. And what that does is it pushes about 1.6 terabits per second per wavelength on a fiber. And that's an industry-leading performance mark. Why that's important is because, especially for some of our Neoscaler customers, like I said before, they don't have a tremendous amount of fiber, so they need to maximize the capacity per fiber pair that they have. And with a solution like WaveLogic 6 Extreme, they have the ability to not only push higher capacities, but do so in a highly spectrally efficient way. So we've seen a lot of take up of that particular technology. We also have a wide variety of pluggable coherent optics that our customers are implementing, especially over distances, again, metro networks. Whenever they have to connect two sites, across a metro footprint or maybe a regional footprint, whenever they're connecting, for example, inference sites to training sites, or let's say an enterprise site to their data center where they're serving up GPU as a service. Pluggable optics is a viable solution and the right solution when space and power factors into the equation. And we see tremendous take up of our WaveLogic 6 Nano pluggables for that purpose. And I think over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of innovation in the underlying components technologies, as well as the pluggable form factors that drive a lot of this performance that's required and to enable all of the scalability that I was mentioning earlier. So coherent optics, whether it's performance or plugs, I think is a really important area of innovation. And then you have the photonic layer, where the line systems reside. And, over the last few years, where Ciena has really had a lot of success is in deploying the line systems for a large number of hyperscaler customers. And through that experience, we've had great feedback from customers around what kind of capabilities they require to reduce footprint, to maximize scale, to handle things like multi-rail applications. What I mean by that is, we have a growing number of customers that have many fiber pairs coming into and out of a particular physical location, what we might call a hut. And that's driven the innovation around the line system to support multiple rails, to be able to scale up in a highly space efficient form factor. I think also, and on the topic of space and power, that also, of course, remains a challenge. We've seen that first and foremost in the hyperscalers as AI has grown so fast. Some of these data centers, really need to reduce the overall, power consumption that they're seeing. So one of the areas of innovation, I believe, where Ciena has been in the lead is in developing optical solutions that drastically reduce the power consumption required when transmitting all of this traffic over optical wavelengths. So all of these areas are key for building out these AI optimized networks. And Ciena has really been in the lead in all phases of it.
We could go really deep on power consumption alone, but just winding this down, if somebody wanted to dive deeply with you and Ciena, call to action here. How do we get in touch with you? How would a hyperscaler or junior hyperscaler, as the case might be, talk to Ciena and explore the future?
The best place to start is Ciena.com. It's where anyone can go to learn about Ciena and our portfolio. I'd also say stay tuned for a series of articles right here on Fierce. That series will begin next month, and it will cover many of the topics that I've discussed today and more, all about the expanding ecosystem of data center operators and the optical networks that support their businesses.
Well, we have a ton of ground to cover over the next decade, so I'm guessing, Mark, I'll be talking to you again. I want to thank you for chatting with us today. I'm Dan Frankel at First Network on behalf of Mark Bieberich. Wishing you a good day, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you, Daniel.